How much stock should we take in NASCAR's first 3 races of the season? America's crew chief says not much.
We've really only been to one conventional racetrack, and that was Las Vegas.
The story so far has been Chevy's dominance over the Fords and Toyotas, but that could change this week in Phoenix. Ryan Blaney coming off 3 straight second-place finishes in the Valley of the Sun. Around the Track starts now.
Get in, buckle up, and make sure you are ready because we've got everything you need to get ready for the NASCAR race in Phoenix. Welcome into a brand new season of Around the Track. I'm Carla Gebhardt. He is Gabe McDonald. And the Shriners Children's 500, Gabe, is really going to tell us a lot about exactly where these drivers sit.
Absolutely. Racing in the desert hits different, and of course, Around the Track does as well, because we've got the biggest breakout star of the 2024 season on the show. Front Row Motorsports is Todd Gilliland, and the man whose work you read every day about racing, the Athletics' Jordan Bianchi, in the building as well, Carla.
That's right, and we don't call it the fastest show in sports for nothing, so let's go racing. Everybody, Phoenix Raceway is the site of the championship race in November, but those notebooks are going to get filled during the Shriners Children's 500. This is really the first short track that drivers see on the 2024 schedule. Kind of, right? I mean, the Clash at the Coliseum was a warm-up for that, but not everyone got to race there, and this is a completely different aero package from LA, which means crew chiefs are still formulating how they're going to punch their ticket into the playoffs. Now, some drivers, they know how to conquer Rattlesnake Hill and the other elements out there, but others, they're just looking to hold on tight and come out clean on the other side.
Phoenix is not honestly been like a great track for me. I feel like in the next gen stuff, we were pretty good in the spring last year, but there was others that were a lot faster. And then, you know, the championship race, our team just executed super good to even give us a shot at winning.
Phoenix is a fun racetrack, but it's challenging, with both ends being different. That makes it a challenge for a driver and a team to get the car balanced right. You might be good on one side or the other, and vice versa. You might struggle on the opposite side. So
Phoenix is one of the coolest tracks that we go to all season. Definitely one of my favorite tracks. The restarts are absolutely insane. Probably the most wild restarts that we go to all year. In the middle of that dog leg, it's pretty much in the middle of a corner. So as soon as people cross the start-finish line, you'll see drivers go 3, 4, 5 wide heading into turns 1 and 2. And spotters don't have a great view there because they're spotting from turns 3 and 4.
So let's look at Phoenix Raceway by the numbers. It's a 1-mile dogleg oval track with relatively low banking, ranging from 3 degrees on the backstretch to 11 degrees in turns 3 and 4. The driver that's won there most, though, actually calls the Fox booth home now. That's Kevin Harvick. He has 9 wins there. If you're talking about active drivers, though, that's Kyle Busch and Joey Logano. Both have 3 wins here. It's also the home of the NASCAR Cup Series Championship, like we said earlier, and has been since 2020.
All right, let's go ahead and bring in our guest to break down this race a little bit more. Around the Track has the best insider information, and it doesn't get much more insider than the man joining us with the drip today, Jordan Bianchi.
Thank you. Quickly moving up in the style points for all of NASCAR. I mean, you really hold the fort down in that area.
I appreciate it. I need all the help I can get, so thank you.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about this track, right? I mean, it is kind of the first short track of the season, but this isn't Bristol. It's not Martinsville. It's kind of got its own detail to the track.
It is. It's unique, and we saw the video there. They've got this dog leg there, and the drivers like to fan out 3, 4, sometimes 5 wide, especially on restarts, which can be really kind of treacherous at times too. See a lot of long green flags run here too. Unlike Bristol, where you see some contact, Martinsville as well. Not a lot of full contact racing at Phoenix. Pit road can also be problematic as well. A lot of penalties on pit road, and with long green flag pit stops, because of no caution flags, penalties can be a problem.
So is it a boring race? Is it going to be a boring race?
No, I don't think it's going to be boring. I mean, you actually look at the last few years. You look at the strategy of these races. There tends to be a lot of late race cautions in these things, and that kind of spices it up. And even go back to last fall in the championship race, which did have long green flag runs, we saw Ryan Blaney, who won the championship, and Ross Chastain mix it up on the track. There was not, there was no lack of cautions necessarily, but it was full contact racing.
Yeah. Talking about the manufacturers, all 3 have kind of had their place to shine, but the Chevys obviously above the rest with 3 wins so far. The Fords, we know they can get to the front row, guys like Michael McDowell, Joey Logano. Toyota still have a little bit of work to do. How do you think they stack up right now going into this race?
It's going to be interesting because this race is unlike any we've seen, and we've already had 2 super speedways so far in Daytona and Atlanta. So we don't know how this is really going to kind of manifest itself. And because Phoenix is so unique and so different than Las Vegas, yeah, the Chevys had a lot of speed there, but the Toyotas did it too. But Toyota has been great at Phoenix, and they know that. And there's been an area of emphasis of being better there. They've got a new car they're debuting. They're really confident in that. They think they're going to have speed on Sunday, but again, those Chevys, especially from Hendrick, they're going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, they are. Let's go ahead and talk about some specific drivers right now. Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, and Brad Keselowski. Now, obviously, Christopher Bell's made that championship for the last couple of seasons, but these guys, all great drivers, but they're really low in the points right now. Should they hit the panic button, and what do they have to do to kind of right that ship?
2 of the 3, I would say not panic, and that'd be Joey Logano, Christopher Bell. They've had a lot of speed this year. They've had good runs. Bell had a tire issue at Las Vegas. Logano's had assorted issues as well. They've had speed. They're going to be okay, and they're not that buried in points. Or like Logano jumped 7 spots last week because he had a decent run in Las Vegas. The guy I would be worried about, though, is Brad Keselowski. He hasn't won a race in over 100 races now. They haven't had a ton of speed in their race car. And if you're not winning races, getting to the playoffs can be hard because you're now in a points hole. Can he overcome it? Absolutely, but we don't know where that team is at right now. And again, it's about winning in this sport. Where they set up the point system and the playoffs and everything. And if you're not winning races, man, it's a tough road to climb.
It really is. Owner and driver of RFK Racing. I'm sure he would love to get a win this season. Jordan, you're the best. Not only can you read this man's work on The Athletic, but just like myself, you can listen to him on Dirty Mo Media. Of course, that's Dale Jr.'s podcast company. We're just one big happy family.
Yeah, we're teammates.
That's right. All right, so here is a question. What does Basketball Hall of Famer Allen Iverson and our next guest have in common?
You know, with there being a full, 50-minute practice session this weekend at Phoenix, it's something that we don't get very often.
We're talking practice at Phoenix, kind of an anomaly as of late, but just how much will it come into play before the green flag drops? We'll talk about it with Cup Series driver Todd Gilliland next.
And all it takes is one bump on your fender to push you to victory or to wreck you completely out of contention on the race day. Up next, we've got our wreck of the race and why it's got one team having internal issues. And NASCAR might be trying to hit another home run out in California.
That's right, but it's got nothing to do with Fontana or the LA Coliseum. We'll show you what we're talking about when Around the Track continues.
Around the Track continues with our wreck of the race from Vegas, and this one wasn't even that big, but it took Corey LaJoie out of contention. The number 7 for Spire Motorsports seemed to spin out on his own. A lot of smoke. LaJoie said after the race it was actually his teammate, rookie Carson Hocevar, caused damage earlier in the race, which is what led to the Spire Chevy spinning out later. LaJoie finished 7th and 11th in the first 2 stages, but he would end the race 32nd. Sometimes even the smallest wrecks can cause the most drama on and off the track. Jordan, this is the first time that Corey has really had teammates, 2 of them rookies. Do you think this is going to be a problem going forward, especially with Carson and Zane Smith both being rookies?
Well, listen, Carson Hocevar's got a reputation for being aggressive, often too aggressive, and you can't race your teammates like that in these situations, and it's going to be a learning curve for everybody. Corey, this is a new situation for him where he's got teammates who are really competitive. In this instance, Corey unfortunately spun out because of the contact earlier. It looked like Brad Keselowski may have got into him a little bit, but actually it was the arrow in that. And the way the contact happened is LaJoie ended up backsliding through the field, and that's why he was in the spot he was in. So frustrating because that was a really strong day for Corey LaJoie.
When you look at a team like Spire and just how much they've been able to grow, what has impressed you so much over the years as they've grown into the team they are now?
Gradual, keep getting better every single year, investing in the team and not trying to do too much at once. And you see a lot of people come in this sport, they spend a lot of money and they try to go from point A to point D without going through B and C. And now Spire, though, A, B, C, D. They just keep checking that box, getting better and better every single year, and it feels like they're on the verge of a breakout.
And LaJoie was solid before that wreck. Do you think he wins a race this year?
I think he does. I think he's really good on super speedways. Daytona, Atlanta, Talladega. He's really, really good in those races. And you look at the speed they have Las Vegas. That if you can have speed there, that carries over to a lot of other tracks. I think LaJoie's got a really good chance of getting that win this year.
See if we can get it done. And if you're looking for wrecks in Phoenix this weekend, there were only 5 cautions in the spring race in 2023. But the cars will slide in those corners, which always leaves the door open for more drama on the track. Carla?
Yeah, thanks, Gabe. Front Row Motorsports, of course, has made a lot of moves in 2024. Not only did Michael McDowell start the season on the front row in its first 2 races, but his teammate, Todd Gilliland, led a race-high 58 laps in Atlanta. We caught up with Gilliland earlier this week to talk about Phoenix and this week's Garage Confidential. We are here with Todd Gilliland of Front Row Motorsports, and we are literally right in the middle of your shop right now as your team prepares for Phoenix Raceway this weekend. We're going to talk about Phoenix in a little bit, but I want to go back a couple of weeks and go back to Atlanta. I mean, you led a ton of laps there. How much fun was Atlanta for you?
That was arguably probably my best race in the Cup Series to date. So, yeah, it's just, a huge confidence booster for me. I feel like I can do it and can compete at that level every week. It's just about making it happen more consistently, but Atlanta was definitely a really good showing for us, and like I said, I think it just shows what our potential is.
We've seen a lot of changes with Front Row Motorsports, right, as far as it relates to Ford and just that partnership there with the different tiers of teams. How much has that played a factor into Front Row Motorsports' growth this season?
Definitely, the more information you can have to make any decision, right? Whether it's if you studied extra hard before a test, right? The better you feel about for us going to the racetrack as prepared as possible, the better results that we're going to be able to come out of the racetrack with.
Moving on to Phoenix, that's the race this weekend. What's the strategy like for Phoenix? It's a completely different racetrack. Obviously, tires going to come into play here, but what's the strategy, the mindset for you?
Yeah, going into Phoenix is almost a whole nother new challenge. We have pretty much a whole new aero package. We have a diffuser on the bottom at the rear of our car that is greatly reduced going to Phoenix, which should make the car slide around a little bit more, hopefully make the racing a little bit closer, and more opportunities to pass throughout the race. So this is all directionally correct for NASCAR to be even more competitive. I'm excited to see where that stands. This is kind of the first short track type feel racetrack we've been going to, with Phoenix being a mile in length. So I'm just excited to feel out the new aero package and also just continue to grow on all our downforce program.
A lot of teams talk about that they're going to try out some different things when it comes to this spring race. Is that the case for Front Row Motorsports?
With there being a full 50-minute practice session this weekend at Phoenix, it's something that we don't get very often. So it's definitely a really good opportunity for us to try out new things, try and just make that extra step forward while we're still able to. Most weekends it's you can't really change a whole lot of what you bring on your race car. You can kind of fine tune it during practice and after, but you can't change springs, shocks, all that stuff. So this weekend you can pretty much try whatever you want on the car for pretty much an hour, and really just try and make gains, but at the same time we've been running this car for 3 years, and I also feel really confident that we can unload and be really close also.
Front Row Motorsports, and you particularly, are on other people's radars as a driver to watch to get that first win. What's the goal for the rest of the season? I know we're just 3 races in, but for you want to be that guy that fans can cheer for on the weekend. Yeah,
this is we've been off to a fairly good start, but our goal is definitely to go out and win a race this year. So I think our ceiling is just getting raised every single week and every single year, and just seeing more and more fan support every single weekend has been really cool. And that all comes from being on TV more, running more towards the front, and so that's my goal, is to get more fans and eventually win a race on the racetrack.
Thanks to Todd and Front Row Motorsports for that interview. One of the most historic victories in recent NASCAR history, though, did not come from the Cup Series. Coming up next, we're talking the rise of Raja.
And we keep talking about Phoenix, so let's go there. Learn about the track itself and its new track president when Around the Track continues.
NASCAR apparently wants to keep these drivers on their toes because the schedule has a ton of different racing over the next couple of weeks. In fact, Bristol is already on deck. Remember, we are back to normal asphalt this year after a few spring races on dirt. Then we go to COTA for our first road course of the season. Then Richmond and Martinsville for some short track racing. Then we'll reach Texas. That's maybe a little bit of some normalcy there, Gabe.
Yeah, we're going to take another trip back to Sin City real quick to recap a historic win for Raja Caruth. The 21-year-old picked up his first career Truck Series victory last Friday in Las Vegas. The win came on the heels of Caruth starting on the pole for the first time in his career as well. He now joins Rare Air as just the 3rd black driver to ever win a NASCAR National Series race, along with Hall of Famer Wendell Scott and Bubba Wallace. For the DC native, it's been quite a journey to get to this point after coming up through iRacing.
This journey has been fruitful at times and testing at times, but I'm just super grateful for Mr. H, because he's the only reason why I got in this thing full time. In this winter, it was a lot of uncertainty about where I'd be driving, not having, a bunch of funding behind me at the time. And I just stayed true to my faith and to my family. And fortunately, a lot of people will just put a lot of stuff together for me to be in this spot.
Pretty easy to root for that, man. Also worth noting that this significant win comes during the 20th anniversary of NASCAR's Drive for Diversity program, which Caruth was a part of in 2020 and 2021.
And NASCAR might be looking to keep the clash in Southern California. After all, sources tell around the track that officials have talked with Major League Baseball and the Los Angeles Dodgers about holding some type of racing inside the famed Dodger Stadium over the LA Clash. It's no secret that NASCAR feels like that's kind of run its course, but also wants to keep the sport in the SoCal area. Main concerns right now, though, are finding a date that works and where the field can get back into play as far as the spring training and all of that. Of course, NASCAR and the Dodgers did decline a comment about this. Jordan, can you offer any clarity on this?
I can confirm that there has been conversations about this. They've explored the idea. We'll see. I've heard inside the stadium. I've heard outside the stadium, like the parking lot possibly. So it's being evaluated. Now, is this going to come to fruition or not? We don't know. But as you mentioned, Southern California is a really important market for NASCAR. But where do you race there? They're not going to return to the Coliseum. Unlikely, I should say, next year after 3 years racing there. Fontana, we know, is getting reconfigured. So what do you do? How do you maintain a presence in Southern California? That's the question NASCAR is trying to figure out right now.
Sounds like a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of resources.
Yeah, and the question then is, if you're going to spend all that time and money and resources, what are you going to get in return? Is it worth it on your investment? Are you better off taking a class somewhere else and trying to do, add some new energy and life to it? Now, Dodger Stadium would certainly do that, but you might be better off going somewhere else and finding a different way to maintain a presence in LA.
Rose Bowl, maybe?
Yeah. All right, well, that's the future of NASCAR. Let's get back to the race here at Phoenix this weekend, and it's more than just banking and dry heat.
Yeah, drivers have an added challenge ahead of them during the race in Phoenix, and our friend Brandon Sohn is actually out in the desert to show us firsthand what's on deck during the race.
5 wide and full throttle through the dog leg, and I'm just talking about the start of this 1 mile tri-oval. Welcome to Phoenix, where it's always fierce and it's always fun, whether it's a spring fling or it's the fall brawl for all.
Blaney, can he clear him? He does.
This being the most important of the first 4 to start the Cup season, because the work you do here is crucial for when we all come back for the championship. In that spirit, teams are getting a rare extended practice Friday night to see what works and what doesn't. What hasn't worked enough for NASCAR since this next generation car came into play: fierce competition on short tracks like this one. NASCAR held a high-profile test here back in December, just a couple of weeks after the title races, to work on things like tire wear and aerodynamics, trying to make these cars tougher to handle over a long green flag run. Someone who hasn't stopped working is track president Latasha Kazi, about to lead her 3rd season where Phoenix starts and ends the NASCAR season.
All year they're working to get towards November, so this is the practice run, I like to say, right, to get ready for November and for championship weekend to be right back here in Phoenix. And so the vibe is always just so great, from the racing to the fans, just everything that we have going on here. Like you said, there's the momentum, and it's just a really fun place to be.
Cup Series drivers may have Vegas in the rearview mirror as they head to Phoenix Raceway, but it's in the forefront of sports bettors' minds. We check in on the odds ahead of the race and give you our victory lane locks. Those are next. The NASCAR Cup Series heads to Phoenix this week for race number 4 on the schedule, the Shriners Children's 500, and here are the favorites to win it according to DraftKings. Coming off of his victory in Vegas is Kyle Larson with the best odds in the desert. He's plus 600. We got current Cup Series champ Ryan Blaney right behind him at plus 700. The Daytona 500 winner William Byron plus 750. Ross Chastain, who won here in the fall, plus 850, and then Denny Hamlin with the 5th best odds at plus 900. And we know the odds now, but it's now time to give you our picks of who we would place our money on. Jordan, who are you going with this week?
I'm going the easy pick, Kyle Larson. He's got 9 top 10 finishes at Vegas in the last, 9 top 10 finishes in the last 10 starts at Phoenix. He's won at Vegas. He's won at Phoenix before. I think he keeps that streak going. He's going to go 2 for 2.
So you're going with Vegas.
Going with Vegas.
Okay.
I like it.
Well, I know we talked about the Toyotas earlier in the show. I'm going with the Toyota driver this weekend, Denny Hamlin. 5th best odds. I think he's due for a win. 2 wins here. None in the next gen car, but I think he gets the monkey off his back and gets it done. He also has 14 other top 5 finishes. Denny Hamlin, he always says it's his year until it's not.
Yeah.
I think he starts it off and gets a win this weekend here in Phoenix.
I think Toyotas are going to get hot soon, but I still am going with a Chevy driver. You had Kyle Larson, but I'm going to go with his teammate, William Byron, Daytona 500 winner, won here just last spring. They going to continue their dominance early on in Phoenix. I also wouldn't be surprised to see maybe the other Hendrick drivers do well here.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, Chase Elliott hasn't won in a while. Alex Bowman hasn't won in a while. This has been a good track for Alex. He's a Phoenix native, by the way. So, home track, maybe he's got some home cooking there. But Chase Elliott, there's something wrong with that team there.
What do you think it is?
I think there's a lot. It's hard to digest. It's hard to say. But when you
we don't have enough time.
Yeah, how much time do we got here? But they haven't won a race in a while, and they're struggling, and they're searching. And I know they're off to a decent start this year, but now this is going to be a true test for them to see where they're at. And these next few weeks are going to be really telling about where the state of the 9 team is at.
All right. We're going to have you on again later this season to continue breaking this down. Of course, that's going to do it for us here on Around the Track. We'll see you next week when we preview Bristol Motor Speedway. Enjoy the race, everybody.